Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular lecture, we're going to be taking a look at equilibrium after the imposition of a tax. This is from my public finance course, and we're directly going to be taking a look at income and substitution effects and how to analyze and disentangle them from one another. So here we have an equilibrium. This individual is maximizing their utility. Their indifference curve is just tangent to their budget constraint. And this is before the imposition of a tax on beer. If we place a tax on beer, the budget constraint will shift inward in this manner. It does not impact the total amount of soda that can be consumed if the individual buys nothing but soda, because the tax will have no impact on them. However, if they spend some of their portion of their income on beer or a portion of their income on beer, it's going to shift their budget constraint inward because beer is going to be more expensive because of the imposition of this tax. So we have a new budget constraint after the tax is imposed. We want to see what the utility maximizing combination of beer and soda is. So that's going to be where the new budget constraint is just tangent to an indifference curve, and this new equilibrium is here. It's at the quantity of soda QS1 and the quantity of beer QB sub 1. So what's happening here is we're changing the price ratio of beer and soda. That's why we have a budget constraint that has a different slope. The slope of the budget constraint is the ratio of the two prices of the two commodities that we're talking about. If we want to denote this as a lump sum tax, i.e. you're just taxing an individual a lump sum, the impact on the budget constraint is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be shifting inward, and it's a parallel shift because it impacts both beer and soda consumption in the same way. We're just reducing an individual's income. So we have the new budget constraint here that is parallel to the original one. It just shifts inward to denote that income has been reduced. And the new utility maximizing combination of beer and pizza is where the new budget constraint touches the new indifference curve. And it's denoted by Q sub S1 and Q sub B1. So what we are really interested in, if we place a tax on one particular item, one thing we should note is that there definitely is a substitution effect, but there's also an income effect. By imposing the tax on beer and not soda, we are changing the relative prices. So we're changing the slope of the budget constraint, but also by increasing the price of beer, we're also impacting income, because if we increase the price of beer, we buy beer, that leaves less income available for soda consumption. So we want to know, how do we want to disentangle that? How can we determine what's the impact of solely income and solely the change in the ratio of prices? So we want to disentangle the income effect from the substitution effect. So with the income effect, if we want to take out the income effect, remember, if we lower income, we have a parallel shifting of the budget constraint. So if we parallel shift in the original budget constraint, so it's just tangent with the new indifference curve, we will be taking out the income effect. So we are now tangent to the new budget constraint where we're trying to take out the income effect. So it's a parallel shift. This budget constraint is parallel to this budget constraint. So there is no change in the prices of beer and soda. It's solely due to income. And if we go to the point where this budget constraint is just tangent to the indifference curve that we had, this will only take out the income effect because we're parallel shifting the budget constraint inward. So for example, if we just looked at this budget constraint with the tax, we went from QB0 to QB1. If we solely want to take a look at the income effect, we go from this budget constraint down to this budget constraint tangent to this new indifference curve. And the shift from QB0 to QB1 prime is the income effect. What's left over is the substitution effect. So I want you to be aware of that if you change the price of a product, you're going to have changes in consumption due to the substitution effect, but you'll also have a change that's due to the income effect. And the way you can disentangle that is to do the analysis with the change in the price due to the tax, i.e. the new budget constraint that has a different slope, and find out that equilibrium. And then if you move the original budget constraint inward to just tangent to that new indifference curve, that gives you the income effect. So that's taking out the income effect, and what you have left over is the substitution effect.